Now this. Well, this is certainly another issue that's plaguing the Biden White House. It's the economy. It got worse today, by the way. There's no doubt our economy is in decline under President Biden's watch. With rising costs all around us, the GDP taking a surprising dive in the first quarter of 2022, and voters are noticing it. A new Quinnipiac poll shows more than 60% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the economy. That same poll shows inflation is at the top of voters' minds, with more than 30% saying it's the most urgent issue facing the country today. Kaylee, only 3% said that it wasn't. I don't even know why they bothered to poll the 3% or that they raised their hands, because within the margin of error, it's technically zero.
Right. Only 1% said the economy is excellent. I'd love to meet that 1%. Maybe it's Jeff Bezos. I don't
They're
know.
part of the 1%?
They're part of the 1%.
Right.
Yes, but interestingly, you just put up those numbers. Number 2 is immigration. This is what we saw happen prior to 2016, where there was this insurgency among the Republican Party. They selected President Trump as their nominee. He won, took everyone by surprise. Immigration became the number 2 issue because Democrats ignored it. Obama ignored it, and now Biden's doing the same thing as if he didn't learn from the past. We did learn a little bit about Biden's midterm strategy. Brooke Singman on FoxNews.com came out and said, here's what one advisor tells her: you are about to get more POTUS. Because that's what we need.
Wow.
More POTUS. So not basement Biden. You're going to get POTUS out and about. Thanks, Republicans.
And what could that look like?
I don't know.
Did you see his news conference today after his comments on Ukraine? And then he didn't segue. He just went right into some other stuff. And you could hear kind of the breath in the room saying, well, OK, questions are coming, but where do we start?
Well, put it this way. The best wrestling match I see on a daily basis is President Biden with the teleprompter. Because
no, it's that tissue in his hand. That's what it was today.
Was it?
Ew.
That's right. You're on. OK. By the way, it shouldn't be no concern. He's going to the Washington Correspondents' Dinner, and the vice president's got COVID. No problem. Not a national security issue. So the other thing to keep in mind with him is just move the camera in a little, and please review the copy. What he's saying matters. You're talking about he wants $33 billion more of aid to the Ukraine. He wants more money into the economy. He's asking for all these things, but he doesn't even know what he's saying. And that's what makes people wonder, why would your best strategy for the midterms be more him?
You know what? It would be worse than that. What if he doesn't care what he's saying? Like, he's not adding up those numbers. If you add up those numbers, Emily, there's only one thing that comes out the other end: us. Yeah. The American people. It's everything that we can do to make sure that all of that happens. And the very least he could say is acknowledge us and say thank you.
Yeah, I mean, until we get that, we are getting nonsensical dribble coming out of his mouth as he meanders around and looks for ghosts to shake hands with.
And
he blamed, quote, technical factors just now on the GDP shrinking by 1.4% for the first time since the pandemic. But what are those technical factors, I wonder? Right? No one was able to press him on it. He certainly didn't explain further. He blamed Putin. He blamed the pandemic. He blamed global inflation. But he doesn't blame himself for his policies. He doesn't blame the things that actually would do more to increase the value of the dollar, to increase what happens on the kitchen table, which is us putting food on it for our families, our job security, and knowing that we have a little bit of that cushion in the bank to get it through the next month. And that's why 31% of those respondents to that poll said inflation was their greatest worry, because they're concerned day in and day out, even if this president isn't.
You know, Morgan, this is like the oxygen mask on the plane. We can and will always help the world. It's who we are.
You're so good at the analogies.
Right? So you put your oxygen mask on. You make sure your economy is sustainable, so you can get off the teat of Russian oil and so on and so forth, and not have to go to dirty producer Venezuela. And really mean what you say when you say you're going to help Ukraine and other countries. You breathe first, deeply, and then help everybody else. We are gasping here.
Well, speaking of Russia and China, the Russian ruble is stronger now than it was before the invasion.
Absolutely.
China registered at 4.8% GDP. Now, I don't always believe their numbers, obviously, but still, they're publicly saying 4.8%. That's after having locked down 30 million of their people in Shanghai and other cities due to the pandemic. So I think that he has been taken hold of by the far left in his party with these economic policies. You know, they're talking about forgiving student debt of some some sort.
That's
he
his
talked about it in
strategy.
a press conference to get young people back, and he is doubling down on policies that are hurting America, they're hurting families, and they're going to hurt him at the polls. And if he doesn't let go of the that was the wrong word. He doesn't let go of the grasp of the far left of his party on his economic policies. It's not just about them losing in November. It's about the country losing. Because when we enter a deep recession next year, God forbid if that happens in 23, that's on top of 8.5% inflation. That's on top of supply chain issues.
And the interest rates that are going
And the
up.
interest rates.
Yeah. Well, 2 quarters like what we just had, right?
That's right.
Back to back, and we're inching in that direction. We'll get an R for a recession, and we got to turn it around.